Hello everyone, this is Keith Ritual, and today I'm going to be talking about my worst job experience ever. Like, as some of you know, I've been working in film for quite a while, although not recently. And I've had some good jobs and I've had some bad jobs, and there's one that has by far taken the cake as the worst job of my life. So, it was actually for a Korean drama, yeah, called Fashion King. It was supposed to be a 9-day shoot. Think it was like winter because I remember freezing my ass off, and they didn't really hire enough staff members. Okay, it started. I got a call, and it paid quite well, so I'm like, I'll do it. It was just regular PA work, nothing big, and so first day, quite a good day, pretty decent, a little bit hectic because our holding was like quarter of a mile away from our set, and it was just a mixture, and nobody knew who anyone was. Of course, it's always confusing the first day when no one really knows. And it was also confusing because we had two teams. We had the Koreans and we had the Americans. The Koreans rarely spoke English, and the Americans, of course, didn't really speak Korean. So we had two translators, I think, the first day. But anyway, so translating information was not the easiest thing because we have a lot of departments that have to get information to the director and the AD, and when the AD doesn't understand the director, it gets really confusing. So our first day, I don't remember it being that long. Like usually it's like I think it was like a 12 to maybe 14-hour day, maybe 16, which is not long in film. It's like average. But literally, we had like an 8 hour turnaround. Like, I had 8 hours from the time we let off for the night to time I had to get back and work in the morning. Now, if you know New York City, it's a long time to travel. We mainly filmed in Manhattan and Brooklyn, so it wasn't like I lived in the Bronx, so it was cool. About an hour each way, and you get all the whole like wind down. The first day, I decided just to wear some black eyeliner. Just a little bit, not much. Wasn't really into that much makeup at the time. This was quite a while ago. And the second day, I didn't have time to shower. I literally took my black shadow with me and a brush, and I did it on the train because I literally had like maybe 6 hours, maybe less. I think it was less to get sleep. Like, I brushed my teeth and ran out. Second day, considerably worse because I had taken on more jobs. Originally, I was the PA. Now I was working on background, which was quite a huge group, but I was still surviving. We had a lot of like locations, like oh many, and packing up that much was hard work. I don't remember that much about day two, but on day three, it went down. Um, by day three, we were all fatigued. I think it was day three. Yeah, definitely day three. Everyone was like fatigued to hell because we were getting like 4 or 5 hour turnarounds. Um, the drivers weren't allowed to sleep really, so it was sort of scary because even after we would go, the drivers were still working with the freaking Koreans that were still like wanting to explore the city, and were having the PAs drive them around just so they could see sights. Not a good thing. Get your own taxi, please. You're gonna kill us, especially when your driver's like getting like 2 hours of sleep a night. I myself would have been sleeping in that van, but they were actually having him work on the side. Okay, and it was getting people were like creating their own positions. Like, originally we didn't really have a key, we didn't have a background, but then we had a background PA, and now we were getting like American first team because then we had a Korean first team person. Not really. but we did, sort of, not really. It was like everyone. And one thing that was really frustrating is like when you work in American production, mostly very few people stand behind the camera, like maybe the heads of the departments, but only to look, and they space out. They're not like all. But when it comes to Korean filming, the entire crew is up on that camera, like wardrobe, everyone. And then you could tell like the Koreans were like all on the camera, like every single one of them, and the Americans were like scattered because it's like really bad etiquette to like be stacked up on the camera, or I mean the video village, which is where people can see the screen, and that was frustrating. Um, there was also several sets that we broke into, and we lost because of that. Yeah, wasn't my. But by the end of the night, I got into this huge fight because our background and our actors were freaking out, even our Korean actors, because there was a fight on the corner, including a gun and a machete. Don't know where the machete came from, but I was trying to notify the rest of the crew that on Awaki that our people are scared, and most of my background were in police outfits, so they were not safe because first person to go down in a freaking fight is the police officer because they think they're trying to stop it, and it can get bad. And I'm like, I need to get my background out of their police outfits because there is a freaking fight, and they're telling me to shut up on walkie, and it is getting bad. And it got to the point where I was told that I didn't know how to do my job, even though I had been doing background PAing for quite a while. And the person who was telling me I wasn't doing my job was in the industry for like not even a month. Like I know when he first got in the job, and it was not even a month. And I went off. I don't really get angry that easily, but I'm like shivering a little bit right now just thinking of how much that pissed me off. And so I quit. The entire AD team was trying to hold me back, trying to get me not to quit because I was too valuable, because I knew all the paperwork, I knew how everything worked, and I was doing more than my share of jobs. And I quit. The next day I got to sleep. So happy I could sleep. But then I got a call midday begging me to come back by the person that started the fight with me, as well as most of the AD team. Like, please come back. And I said no. I refused. The next day, they kept bombarding me with calls. So I said, I will return. But of course, they're like, we'll pay you for an extra day to get you to come back because we really need you. So I came back, let them know where I stood, and from there it was a bit easier. Of course, there was still like no turnaround. And I had started redoing the eyeliner to giant raccoon circles again. And originally, in the first few days, they ordered too much food, and it was excessive to the point of us having tons and tons of like food that we had no one to give it to. But then at this point, I wasn't eating. I was eating anything off the snack truck, which wasn't much because they'd already like cleaned it out, pretty much. Like we had like a little walk-in pan of food, and it was pretty much like stuff I couldn't eat. And there was stuff. All that was left over was like maybe a handful of rice by the time I got to the food, and it was getting bad. By the fourth day back, I was literally like getting lightheaded. I had barely eaten enough because it's very like extreme work, and I remember like going up on the elevator on my final day and like almost passing out. Like I had to be like hold some like had someone help me up. And finally on the last day they gave me some help, even though I was having like 100 background actors a day. Sometimes not quite, but felt like it. And I was handling it all by myself, being very like host kind of. I was making sure they were all happy. I was making sure they had access to junk, but I was not. able to eat myself because I would have to keep track of them, and therefore I was always the last to eat, even of the PAs. Like there's a whole like actors eat first, then crew, then AD team, like production. Um, and one main big bad thing about it was the fact that I was like straight up directly talking with the producers. Like usually there's like a system. PAs talk to key PAs for instruction, key PA talk to AD department, and those are like first AD, second AD, second AD in that order. But it was like, and then we have like up here is like directors, producers, actors. They're like a little bubble. But I was like directly talking to the unit production manager and the producers to get things done. That is not good. Now, my final day, I got an assistant. I'm like, you can go home because she was intern. And the day was almost over. I'm like, get me some food. And you can go home because I'm not working tomorrow. I straight up told them, I'm like, I can't work tomorrow. And they're like, well, we still need to find a replacement. I'm like, give my intern that I just had for this half a day, give her my pay, have her do it. I taught her everything I know. Although there's not only so much you can do by teaching and not letting them do it on their own. I'm pretty sure she did a good job by herself. I didn't know. Don't remember her name. If you're out there and you see this video, let me know. But that was not the end of my issues with Fashion King. First off, this is in the credits. Didn't really care that much about it. I was in like a good 30 background scenes, and I wasn't even visible, and I'm just like, why am I even there? Why did I have to like take off of my extremely hard job to do background in a scene when you cut me out completely? Thank you for that. And finally, I had to wait 8 months to get paid, and I still haven't got all my money. And it's like 2 years later. I don't think I'm getting the rest of the money. But that's it for my rant about this horrible, horrible job. There's been other jobs that are bad, but this, of course, take the cake. I think I missed quite a bit of how bad it was, but I think you get the point. But if you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be starting my Kickstarter in a few days if any of you care. Any advice, totally welcome. But I'll see you all next time. Bye. Let me give you a brief synopsis of what Fashion King was. Um, it was about fashion that took place in South Korea and New York City, and I think somewhere in the desert in California. We had a girl from Girls' Generation and some big ass Korean actors that I've never heard of. And if you want to check it out, it sort of flopped. Like literally, it recorded, like they filmed it, and like within a month, it was already premiering, and people were like, "Oh, this is crap."